The best part about motorcycling is the thrill of accelerating that throttle. The scariest part is the braking. Fortunately, there's a great company called AltRider that has come up with a fantastic solution.
Photo adventures on the road.
When you get into motorcycling, especially adventure motorcycling and off-road motorcycling, one of the first things you're going to do is purchase protective gear. Boots are a big part of that. The problem with boots is you have zero feel anymore. There's no finesse feel to having a boot on like you have if you have regular shoes on. So as you're riding down some remote mountain road in the middle of the wilderness, in the middle of nowhere, through some sloppy mud, you've got to use this boot that you have zero feel to in order to press your brake. And of course, if your brake is all covered in mud and you've got this little tiny nub on here that the manufacturers put on, it's pretty easy for that boot to slip off. And so AltRider has come up with a great solution to this problem of having such a small piece of real estate for your boot to stamp on by coming out with their dual control brake enlarger. And so I'm going to be installing the dual control brake enlarger to this motorcycle to give me a little bit firmer, a little bit better place to rest my boot. But I'm also going to be installing the dual control riser to go with it. This is the second problem with motorcycle braking when you're an off-road rider. As you know, when you are seated, your boot is going to be angled down quite a bit. Your leg comes up and bends at the knee when you're seated. So your brake lever is positioned properly for that type of riding. However, when you're riding off-road, you often will be standing. That gives you better control on the motorcycle. You can steer with your feet, steer with your knees. When you do that, however, your leg is going to be angled up more like this because your legs are now up here as opposed to having all of that bend in your knee. So your legs are straight, now your foot is way up here, and so when it comes time to brake, you've got to rock your foot forward, press down and push way down. And of course, with these sturdy boots, it's really hard to get any flexibility in them for your ankle to push down there. So now you're pushing with your knees. It's just not an efficient system. The dual control brake lever riser that AltRider has come out with attaches to that expandable foot that we're going to be putting on here and gives you a second tier. So now you've got a little bit of a riser that meets the requirements of the ergonomics when you stand on your motorcycle. And if you're not familiar with AltRider, I just put out a video about them and the products that we're going to be installing on this Tuareg 660 from AltRider. I recommend you take a look at that just for a little bit of background. Fantastic company, and the products that they come out with are just brilliant. I'm going to show you how to install this dual control brake system on my Aprilia Tuareg 660. Let's follow along. One nice thing about AltRider, when you order their stuff, everything you need is included. They even include the Smurf blood. It's a resealable container. It's a little tiny container. So I'm going to set this aside and actually put it in my toolkit so I have it on the road. I have a regular full-size container that I'll be using for this. You'll need a 2mm and a 3mm Allen key, and the rest of what you need is in the bag. Let's start with the dual control brake enlarger. There's the actual brake enlarger itself, and the bolts you'll need to put it to the motorcycle. Plus, they include these really cool little studs that you can screw into the brake enlarger to give you more grip. That's the first thing we're going to do. Beautiful. That is a gorgeous, nicely machined piece of aluminum right there. Got my knurled knobs in there. It's got some really nice grip to it. The next step is to install the riser, and the riser is also going to be the same bolts that attach to the actual motorcycle. So that saves us a little extra step, which is very, very thoughtful in the design of this particular product. Another really cool thing about AltRider is they're very intentional about their design. Every one of these is designed completely different for each manufacturer. So whether you have a KTM or a Honda or Suzuki or Aprilia, they're all designed around the actual OEM product and then improved on. Plus, you can get different options. So for example, you could just install this without the riser, or they also offer different riser sizes depending on your riding style. I chose to go with the 25.4 millimeter riser, so we're going to go ahead and install that now, and then we'll mount this to the motorcycle. Just like with the dual control brake enlarger, we have the knurled knobs that are going to go on top of the riser. And this time I'm actually going to use my magnetic screw holder, which I brought out for that purpose. So let's install the knurled knobs on the riser. If you're only installing the dual control brake enlarger, you're going to use the two shorter screws to attach that to the brake arm on the motorcycle. If you're going to be installing the riser, that's going to go in place here, and then you'll want to use the larger screws to go all the way through both pieces and into the brake arm of your motorcycle. Now, before we actually install the dual control brake system from AltRider, this would be a great time to mention we have another video talking about the titanium pivot bolt that we use to strengthen the arm on the Aprilia Tuareg 660's brake system. I would go check that out too if you haven't already. But all you have to do is take this and replace the OEM product with the dual control brake system. First step to doing that, of course, is to remove the OEM. Now we'll apply a little bit of thread lock on the longer bolts because we're using both the riser and the enlarger, and mount that back into the OEM location. Oh yeah, that is way better. Very cool. Now that I have this upgraded dual control brake system on my motorcycle, I'm hoping it'll increase my chances of staying out of trouble. However, if I do find myself in a bit of a pickle, I'm going to call Rick Stewart, scmotolawyer.com. I'm going to put his information up on the screen here. I highly recommend that you do a quick screen grab of it, and if you find yourself in trouble at any time on a motorcycle, he's the man to call. I am particularly impressed with this product from AltRider.com. They are an amazing company, and I'd like to thank Martin for sending us this to install on our Aprilia Tuareg project bike. It really is a fantastic piece of kit. We're going to do some evaluating on it and let you know down the road what we think of it. But so far, I'm already super impressed compared to the manufacturer's OEM product. Now it's time for Jason and I to take a break. Get it? I do hope you'll give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little notification bell. We've got a few more products from AltRider that we're going to be installing on the Aprilia Tuareg 660. You'll want to see those for sure. Stick around, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Moto Photo Adventures is on the